So we met actually in Barcelona, kind of by accident through a mutual friend. I understand that this is one of many, many places that you've lived in the world. So what was the journey for you like over the last few decades to end up in Barcelona?
Yeah, I'm glad you said a few decades and you didn't get too specific. Goodness me. I mean, there was always this, got to get out of the little village that I was born in. I was born in a tiny postage stamp village in Devon where no one ever leaves, that everyone wants to go to on holiday. And I always just had this thing of, I got to get out of here. There's more to it than this. From a very early age. So I left at 16. I was like, I want to be a model, after other sort of ideas of things that I wanted to be before that. But I wanted to be a model. So I ended up going to London. And I mean, I'm not going to take you through the 22 or 23 countries I've lived in, but that's how much I wanted to go and get out of that village and what I needed to explore. Before I came back to Barcelona now for the third time.
Okay. Wow. So what was it when you were 16 years old that inspired you to pursue this dream of being a model?
Well, yeah, that's a bloody good question. What the hell was wrong with me, right? I remember like having this passion for clothes. And unfortunately, it was like my great grandmother, who was 103, just going through all her old clothes and bringing them to my house and just doing things with them. And my mum's like, "Oh dear God, wash them or whatever. What are you doing with all that?" And so I had this fascination with creation and fashion. And then I remember having pulled out tear sheets. Of course, I know the word is tear sheets, but it would be magazine pages and slapping them on the wall at boarding school, and just admiring these looks, the models, whatever it was, right? And knowing that I could do that, even though I was from a little village at a boarding school where most of these people's parents were all in the forces. And I was a force of nature because, there wasn't a place to go and be a model in 1986.
When we first met, one of the things that struck me was not only your very long blonde hair, but the fact that you're almost as tall as me. You're like 6'1", 6'2". So that must have been something that you kind of recognized was different about you. Was that something that you liked about yourself when you were a teenager?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you being tall as well, and for those people that aren't tall that are listening, what is it really like? Because the reality is always different, right? I remember slouching a bit at school, between 10 and 16, and my sports teacher, I was in every sports. I thought it was because they were desperate. I didn't actually realize I was an athlete, but that's another story. But I was slouching, and my games teacher came to me. She said, "If I see you, that height is incredible. If I see you slouch again, then I will," and I don't know what the will was, but I stopped doing it. And I never stopped, wearing heels. I wear heels, and serious heels. I mean, I did, Vivienne Westwood shows, for example. We all know. I mean, don't all know, but I'm telling you, they were crazy heels. Those heels that Naomi fell on, famously on the catwalk.
Oh, that was Vivienne Westwood. Okay.
Right. And I always wore heels, and even now, I wore heels throughout my pregnancy because it's like you don't stop wearing them, otherwise you won't get used to it. That's the advice. But and when people ask me, "Why are you wearing heels? You're so tall," I go, "Well, because I'm a woman, and it feels different to wear heels, and I want to feel that. I shouldn't not feel that because I'm tall. It's not my problem. It's your problem that I'm tall." But answering your question, like why and what was that like being tall modeling, was really difficult. I was at 16. I could not get into any agency in London because I was too tall. And then I did get into agencies in London, and every agency wanted me in London. And then I was with Al McPherson, who was the same height, and Rachel Williams, another. The Amazonian term came from us, So.
Yeah. I like what you said there about why do you wear heels? You said because I'm a woman. When I have male guests or I've done videos about style, we talk about trying to explain to men that wearing nicer clothing or leather shoes or a suit or whatever it may be is like an intrinsic part of being a man. At least that's, how I feel and how a lot of other men feel. I've always suspected that, the feeling should be similar for a woman of whether it's heels, a dress, lingerie. There must be something about it that just instinctively feels right. Does that feel like something that's just deep down an integral part of you?
Now we're getting into the nitty gritty of what fashion feels like and not necessarily what it looks like. Because, this is my entire personality. After having had breast cancer, my entire global campaign, which I did a Helmut Newton type, global campaign, was I had a double mastectomy, which means basically your tits are lopped off, right? And I said, my whole campaign was, you are no less of a woman because of that. Because I am who I am because of how I feel. And I think that is what I'm trying to get at in the same aspect. I feel a certain way with heels on. It's like, what does it make me feel like? And then it's your go. But, I'm not necessarily wearing heels, or maybe, it's like, whatever, each to their own. But like wearing heels is it's not like, hey, look at me, I'm dominating over you, which could be assumed for somebody shorter or, prejudgmental, whatever. But it is just about, I feel good. I feel complete in what I'm wearing, and I feel confident about everything about me going into wherever I'm going or in this moment, right?
Yeah. I think the confidence is something that everybody should find things that make them feel that way. Like, there's a difference between comfort in a physical sense and also comfort in a mental sense. Sometimes what makes you feel confident and strong isn't necessarily something that's actually that comfortable physically, but it gives you a mental comfort. Whereas something that's soft and stretchy and feels nice actually makes you feel kind of weak.
Yeah.
I mean, that time when you were entering the fashion industry, I would look back on that time and just say, wow, what an incredible era of culture and aesthetics and fashion and taste and music. Do you think that you would have been as interested in getting into that world if you'd been a teenager today?
Well, I can live vicariously through my daughters. That's the only way I can do it, because I'm somebody that I just, as much as I want to answer that question, being me, I don't regret anything in my life, so it's really hard for me to put myself, in it. But living vicariously through my daughter, she was discovered. Well, my agent, I have an agent. Secrets out. Despite all the other things I do, I have agency still for modeling, and when they took one look at her, they're like, oh dear grief, Gigi Hadid or whatever we got here, So they trained her every week to learn how to walk, to learn actually how to, they would choose a different designer every week, and she would have to do a presentation of why she liked it, why she didn't like it. She's very good at expressing her opinion. The creative team, the aesthetics, everything about that designer. And then, do sort of mock photo shoots and stuff, which I thought was absolutely incredible, the time that they put in for that. Now, how did she feel about it? She kind of liked the idea. She wanted to make a lot of money, but then she's somebody that is a huge athlete, and she had she's 14 at that time, a lot of exams, a lot of things. And when they looked at her and they said, because she's very athletic, we want you to, lose weight or do this or think that, she's like, fuck off. I was excuse my French, but I think we all speak that. But she, you can edit that out.
No, it's all good. We can swear.
She also I was the same way. I was exactly the same way. I was asked by a UK designer to lose half an inch. Can you lose half an inch off each hip? And I was like, no, I can't. But models today, having gone back and been asked to be in during COVID, the only foreigner to do the shows because of COVID and everything, they weren't allowing anyone else, but I lived here, to do the big, fashion shows. I spotted this girl that was, I don't know, 18. And I looked at her and I went, first time, right? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, don't worry, I got you. I said, look, when you go down that runway, catwalk just sounds so weird. When you go down that runway, you have to have a mantra. And my mantra is, and I'm going to do it again, I don't give a fuck. I know who I am. I don't give a fuck. I'm in control. Whatever it is, something, whatever your mantra is, have it, be it. And the same thing I told my models when they were to run, New York Fashion Week. I said, look, I don't care whatever you've learned before, whatever, with all due respect, whatever way to walk. I said, you wear my clothes and you're confident. And if you don't know what confidence is, you got to pretend.
Do you think it's different for the different designers or the different outfits that you're wearing? As a model, are you almost playing a character on the runway?
I wish. I mean, I look now and I see that I was just looking at, was it Chanel that just had a fashion show in the subway in New York or something? I'm seeing it everywhere right now. And I was just looking at this one girl that was dressed in kind of like a dandy, suit, striped suit. And it was kind of like from the sort of gangster, kind of American gangster kind of vibe, right? And she was just kind of like walking and acting. And I just thought, wow, that's cool. She had some character. Generally speaking, like Armani, for example, I was lucky enough to do Armani. They had to tape down my breasts, literally doesn't like breasts. Yeah, but just stuff that, it was very like the guys would walk. So it was just really, it was like the guys walk then, right? So yes, some designers want you to walk in a specific way. Mm-hmm. And
back then, who did you really resonate with back in the kind of late 80s, early 90s? Which designers felt very you and you wanted to work with?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I don't think I really did. I loved Azadine Alaya, which, it's kind of like Hervé Leger, Azadine Alaya. But yeah, it was tough because I just, you can't be yourself. So I wasn't in that same question of, what personality did you have and could it be yourself? Never. But as far as the designers, yeah, I mean, the shows that I did, like I did, like the Vivienne Westwoods and there's Christian Dior and etc. But yeah, I mean, some of the clothes were absolutely incredible, and the history that you're walking down with all that history, and you're in Paris, with it's extraordinary. And I think that passion for the fabrics and the way things were made and everything, came back to me, which is why I had my own clothing company.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I get out of it, and I found myself doing it again.
Well, I think often we come back to the things that we loved about it in the first place, and then there's all this other stuff that comes with it, and all these people and all these expectations and pressure, but then the intrinsic reason why we gravitated to that world comes back to us. When you were, backstage at these shows and working with the photographers and the other models, and What was the atmosphere like? Was it like a big party? Was it super crazy all the time, or was it actually pretty professional and quiet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a great dancer. I spent years dancing because I was always going out. You know, like it was constant going out, and yet there was the anomaly of actually being an athlete as well. So I always managed to do both. But there was constant parties. There was drugs everywhere, which I avoided 100%, but it was always there for the taking. But yeah, I mean, there were playboys everywhere. The phone would ring, and great example, I was living in New York and I get this phone call. You know, it's an apartment that models stayed at, and I was on my own in this apartment. I get this phone call, and it's, I don't know, let's call him Jean-Luc. So Jean-Luc calls, no, Claire, I know, c'est qui ça? Who's this? I'm like, it's Claire. Oh, would you like to go out? And I'm like, no, I'm just resting up. I've got a busy day tomorrow. Oh, okay. Well, shame, whatever. And then the phone, hang up, and then 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, not even, the phone rings again. Hello, Christina. I'm like, wait a minute. Jean-Luc, I'm just going to stop you right there. You just called me and your little book, you might want to turn over to the D's and forget the C's so you don't call the same person twice. I mean, there were so many stories, but lots of playboys and lots of no time to grow up because I was working so much. That was the trouble,
You mean like growing, maturing yourself? There was just like constant go, go, go.
You're in a different hotel, you're in a different country every night, you're working with different people. I mean, I remember you take a book like Claudia Schiffer, I remember as well, she'd just sit there and be reading. I mean, you have so much time waiting that there's a lot of time that you can, there was no mobile phones, right? So what are you going to do? I mean, you should use that time of sitting around for something. Or, you're in Paris, for example, and you should, you go to the museums, you talk to the locals, you read the books, you speak the French, whatever, right? But you're working so much and you're so young and making so much money that there is no time to necessarily grow up. Amy Campbell was my flatmate in Paris. Classic example, just fame hit so quick, so young.
What is it, do you think, that took certain models to that status of like the Naomi level, the supermodel level? What is it that separates those from somebody else that's doing the runways and they're very successful in the industry, but they're not a household name?
I mean, Naomi specifically was something very different. And obviously we have to talk about the fact that she was the only person of color at that time, really, that was standing up for an entire section of diversity that we didn't have. So that is a specific case, but I mean, yeah, what is it? There were so many models, so many, and there was a certain amount of playing the game that you had to do. If I think about, but how do they get to be there and be chosen to play the games as well in the first place, and who survived the games? There were great agents, better agents than others, and it was all about just contracts and like with anything, you had to be professional, you had to show up, you had to stay skinny. I'm not going to say fit because that's not the same thing. And you know, like Al McPherson married Gilles Ben-Simon, who was a very famous French photographer. You know, there's the parties, there's the thing. So, you know, when you were a model then as well, there was nothing else. Nothing else. Now, there's influencers. I'm an influencer in AI space. You're an influencer in your space. Which is amazing that there are so many people that have opportunities to do what we're doing, whatever you want to call it, right? Influence in whatever you're doing. We didn't have that then. No social media. And so there was a lot more work. But now there's a lot less work. So it's even harder. And so I find when I went back as well, that I talked to a lot of these younger models and they've got degrees, they've got other jobs. So yeah, that's a whole other conversation about what it's like today.
Right, so it's less of like it's more of a necessity now to have a personal brand and as a model, and they've got a bunch of other options in the pipeline because it's not like they can just get signed to an agency and they're going to be flown around as long as they're professional and they're good. It's like less of a job, it sounds like, than it was back then.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's not even talk about AI, which obviously I'd mentioned that I am in. You know, we're talking about something very innovative, very fast, and that frameworks and copywriting, everything is all trying to catch up. So, you know, it's fortunately it's changing in that space, but there's a lot that needs to happen in order to make that right.
We'll get into AI, absolutely. I definitely want to pick your brains about that.
Yeah.
You know, I think today people are very into optimizing their lives. People are very aware of their sleep stats, their diet, their mental health. Whereas it sounds like back then, everybody was just kind of, for lack of a better term, raw dogging it. Like, you know, doing the show hungover, staying up all night, not necessarily being fit, but being skinny. Do you think people just had that attitude of like, we're going to get on with it and we're going to have a good time rather than worrying about every little detail being perfect and optimized like we are today?
It's a great question right there. I mean, you know, there's a lot of competition now. There wasn't so much competition then. I mean, there was, but yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to data. It goes back to, we didn't know what data was then, right? We didn't have social media. We didn't have the beginning of any data. So yeah, it was just laissez-faire. Like, it's just, I'm having a good time, you know? I mean, depending on where you were from as well, I remember, you know, there was this girl that, I mean, again, you know, professionalism, you know, how professional were you? What could you get away with? I'm laughing because I got away with a lot, you know. I would go out till, I'd be at the best clubs dancing till 6, 7 in the morning. And then I would just rock up to the runway for a rehearsal. And they'd give you a glass of champagne and I was on the runway. And I remember the makeup artist going, "You were out? But you don't have any signs of it at all on your face." I'm like, I get away with it, you know?
Yeah. Were there some people that tried to get away with it and would fail and that would be their downfall?
Yeah. And you'd hate that they would readjust, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you get to know yourself pretty well, what you can and cannot get away with, I guess. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for you, when did the kind of off-ramp in the modeling industry in that first phase of your life, when did you begin to start stepping outside that world and exploring other parts of yourself?
About 2 days after I got into it. And yet it took me, I don't know, 14, 15 years to get out. It's really hard when I'd mentioned that you don't get to grow up. You know, you're in a world where everything about what you look like is the important part. So people don't care what you're saying necessarily. And you don't really care about what you're saying because you can't say anything either. You know, there's this extraordinary example of that. And I've always got a story, but you know, we've got plenty of time. I remember being at a dinner party in Soho House in London. And this was when Soho House was the only Soho House in London and new. And I remember sitting at a table at dinner, and I love dressing up and I love, you know, meeting people. And I'm at this table of some pretty interesting people, particularly in business. I've always been fascinated by it. And I just sat there and I was just so frustrated because I couldn't add anything, nothing. I just had to sit there and look pretty. And I'm like, this has got to change. It's got to change. And I was doing a keynote for Banco Santander about, I don't know, within the last year. And I sat there with the global head of finance and whatever, investment, whatever for Banco Santander, a room of 200 people that I just presented, AI and personal branding with corporate values or whatever it was, this big class. And people are asking me questions. And this man is sitting there looking at me, asking me questions. And I'm thinking, I did it.
Yeah.
You know? So,
but it took a long time on that journey.
Yeah, I mean, in that particular moment, that is a reflection of it. I mean, God forbid, it didn't take that long. But I've done a lot of things in between leaving at 28, 29 to explore and check off all the boxes of what was going to make me happy. And I'm still doing it.
Did you feel like you were, you know, because I'm aware at that time especially, you know, women were kind of at the peak of their career in their early 20s and then they would start to get pushed out. Did you feel at that age you were starting to get pushed out of the modeling industry, or did you get out before you had to?
I knew how to reinvent myself. I mean, obviously you could see what's behind. I was always passionate about the water. So I'm a person that gets what she wants. And anyone can get what they want as long as they know what they want. The problem is people don't know what they want. But I knew that I wanted tropical islands because I like swimming. From a very early age in modeling, probably 17, 18, I just started going to tropical islands, doing swimwear campaigns, keeping really fit. And yeah, so where was I going with all of that? I don't know. But
about where you wanted to go in life. Yeah.
So it was always about trying things. I'm going to try this. I'm going to, see what that's like. And then, you've only got one life. So I'm a bit of a Jacquelina of all trades. So you got to explore it all.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you find things that make you intrinsically happy as well. And they can be very simple things like just being in water. Definitely sunshine is one of those things that I really like. I also just intrinsically enjoy not really doing anything, maybe sitting outside with a coffee, people watching. Obviously, Spain is great for that. And it doesn't really matter where you are or who you're with. You just are happy to do that. And if you can figure out what you want your life to look like more on a day-to-day and then organize everything else up around that, then you can find out a pretty good direction, I think.
I agree. And sitting and doing nothing, people watching or not, is an art form.
Yeah, it's a lost art form today. Yeah, it's a lost art form. Yeah. So just before we move on from the modeling thing, I do think one thing that's really interesting that you mentioned before was the finishing school that you went to in London. It sounds like, kind of a slightly ridiculous but fascinating experience. For the people that aren't familiar with what a finishing school is,
Yeah.
what kind of things did you learn and what was the purpose of going to one of those?
Yeah, well, my purpose, because I wanted to be a model and I was from a village, as you remember, was how do we get her into modeling? It's hours from London, we assume, which is where anything could happen. So a finishing school, as one knew it at the time, you probably only would know it from like a James Bond film or something, where it was, you go to Switzerland and you're the, diplomats' kids or whatever it is, and you go and you learn a new language and, watch a James Bond, you'll see, and, sort of standing and how to stand properly and how to be, all those things, etiquette and everything that a woman should be at that particular time. But for me, it was, she's got to get into modeling. So they had promised something about, there's a runway show at the end, and then yes, we can help her getting into modeling. So I went to London at 16. I remember it was raining. I'd been bought a new umbrella, left the bloody umbrella in the taxi. My parents go waving, and I'm staying in London. And obviously this is a dream that it's about to come true. And I'm from the middle of the countryside, boarding school. Here we are, finally, God. And I'm going to this hostel and I'm going to share a room on the Gloucester Road. I'm going to share a room with this girl that wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm used to sharing, I've been at boarding school. So I went and I knocked on all the doors of the hostel. Hello, I'm so-and-so and I'm going to do this. I friended this girl, and hold that thought because I'm going to tell you and answer your question now. So I go to this finishing school, which was a cheap finishing school, if you like. Well, it's not in Switzerland, it's in bloody London. But they teach me how to, ridiculous things, how to walk with a book on my head, how to walk straight. They use that then. Can you imagine a book? We don't even know what a book is now. With a computer on your head. And then it was like, the daftest thing was just sitting there and practicing getting out of a Ferrari or a car. I mean, I say Ferrari because that's the only car I want to be in, whatever, Aston Martin. But how to get out of a car properly with a skirt on. And Joanna Lumley also went to the same place, I think. I can't remember the name. Lucy Clayton Finishing School. Dear God,
Okay.
I just came back.
I'm going to Google it after we get off this.
Yeah, it's not there, but look it up. It'll be there.
Yeah.
ChatGPT will probably be better for you. Do a deep research. And Joanna Lumley was also talking about this thing. She goes, how bloody ridiculous. She's one of my, heroes. Bloody ridiculous. How to get out of a car with your, with your skirt on, and then she was being interviewed, and she's just like, so there you go, this is how you do it. You put your legs together and you set them apart and then you push up and whatever. It's just, just these things that it's funny because, of all the times I do get out of a car, obviously. No, whatever.
You still remember it, you think?
I mean, it's there in my system. It was drummed in, but I did from that actually get a list of agencies with the AMA, which is the Association of Model Agencies, which were reputable agents that you could go and, try your luck at. So
one thing that I think people today are so risk adverse because you can research everything online beforehand. You can plan the route on Google Maps. You can watch a YouTube video of somebody else doing it. It's almost hard for people to comprehend now the idea that you would just have an address on a piece of paper and maybe a fold out map, and you would go to some agency or some hostel or whatever it may be, or a restaurant to meet somebody and just have no idea what's about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was told in my agent in New York. Wilhelmina, 17 years old. And they said, Faith was her name, well-known booker at the time. She's like, right then, you've got quarters in your pocket. There's a phone box on every corner. If you get lost, you've got 10 go-sees, off you go. And off I went, you know. Very good. We become very good navigators, models. It's not a career transition that they've thought about.
So then you started to move kind of all over the world. And as you mentioned, you've lived in over 20 countries now. What 2 or 3 really stick out to you as places that you've just felt very at home at?
Well, I'm here in one of them, obviously, Barcelona, which is the number one, which is why I came back now for the 3rd time. I really liked Hamburg. I really, really loved Hamburg. And I'm trying to go back there for a visit. And I loved Cape Town.
Interesting. Tell me about Cape Town, because I'm starting to hear more and more about this, and it's not a place I've been.
Gosh, you know, it always depends. Living in a place always depends on where you've been before, and what your ideas of a place are before you get there. You know, what decade it was. But I went there, and it was extraordinary. It was the place where time was passed the slowest in my life. 3 months there felt like a year.
Wow, interesting. That's just because of the lifestyle that you lived and the pace of life you had?
You know, it's a good question. It's a beautiful place. It really is. I mean, for me, it's like this. The landscape is so raw. You know, it was absolutely gorgeous. Why did it? I don't know. It was just pretty relaxed. Yeah, I can't say. It was small. You know, I lived in it's not a very big place. And then I moved a little bit outside, but some incredible experiences. I remember climbing up over Table Mountain, as you do. That was just absolutely amazing. Yeah, no, it was just, I think because I was pretty relaxed with it. I remember a great experience there, you know, like these people that I knew and I was staying with, one of them was at the Cape Town University. And she said, do you want to come along then one day? And I'm like, okay, sure. So I go along and I'm like, and I went into the lecture and it was on religious studies. I mean, I'd been to a Catholic convent for 6 years. It was the last thing that I wanted to look at, right? And I was like, wow, this is super interesting. Talking about just religion around the world and Egypt and God of Ra and all of this. I'm like, wow, this is like history. There's like, and so much so that it inspired me to start a degree when I went online.
You strike me as somebody that is quite happy being within their own company, quite happy being independent and going off doing things by yourself. But when you do move to a new city and you have to rebuild your social life kind of from scratch, what are some of the ways that you go about doing that?
Fearless. Like you've heard from me knocking on doors in the hostel at 16. Fearless. Like if you don't make an effort, don't expect other people to do it. Go after what you want. What do you want? You said, I like a certain lifestyle. Well, go and make it. Find the people, right? Find your people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people struggle with that because they don't know what their thing even is. You know, if you love swimming and you can find a group of people that also go out swimming in the morning, then it's ideal. But if you don't have those things, then, but you know, maybe that's a way that you discover them as well, is by, you know what, I'd never played paddle before, but I'm going to join a paddle academy. I'm going to learn it, and then you'll get the new skill and you'll get the people at the same time.
It's about being fearless and experimenting. What do I like? I'm going to find out.
I think you definitely have to be fearless to do anywhere near the degree of traveling that you've done, and kind of global citizenry, really. I imagine, you see yourself as really as a citizen of the world rather than in one particular country or city.
Yeah, no, when I say, I'm English, it's like, well, does that mean anything? I'm not a person, I don't do labels. And I'm particularly, look, do you know how many labels I have? I'm 6'1". Oh God, how tall are you? I was born on Christmas Day. Do you only get one present? I'm blonde. I look like this. You must be stupid. Like there's so many assumptions and so many labels that people could put on me and people put on other people. And it's just got to stop. Like I had a meeting yesterday with 2 women that, we're going to have some sort of a collaboration but we wanted to find out more about each other. And so we're sitting there and, I guess, Claire, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I just said, look, I'm going to tell you what I'm passionate about, what makes me tick. And the same thing I did on Thursday when I hosted a panel at an event for Almas Libres, which is basically 3,000 or so women, not in the same room, but a community, which is all based around sport, tech, and culture. Absolutely unbelievable. It's right in my wheelhouse, right? And so I had to interview, or I had on stage, 3 women from different backgrounds and tech, and had to have studied beforehand who they were and obviously engage my audience, while I'm there. So it's such a responsibility. Like you have an amazing responsibility right now, right? To just bring out the best in me and the best in you, right? And so I'm like, whoo. And you just ask those questions in order to, I want authenticity. The more we move with the machine next to us, obviously I'm talking about AI, the more authentic we have to become. We've taken too bloody long in it before, and now is the time to really sit and understand. We will have more time where the machine will help us to bring out, if we use it in a positive way, the best in us. So I sit on that stage and I look at these people and I said, look, everyone has LinkedIn'd you to death. They know who you are. You don't need to sit here and say, oh, I am and I do. We know. But what would your 8-year-old self say that you are? And, just bringing out just the values of people. And, I had one woman I'd asked ahead of time, any sport? Did you do any sport? Right? Because obviously it's based around tech sport culture. And she talks immediately like a typical mother about her incredible daughters that are playing hockey for different countries or whatever. And then she said, well, yeah, I did a bit of hockey, bit of football, and I was on the Olympic sailing team. I'm like, I thought you just threw that in, just it's beautiful we want to know about people.
Yeah.
What makes you different, right? What do you believe in?
So one thing that I see as, a negative thing that's happening with AI, and we can go into this a bit more, is especially on the content side, when a lot of people use it to produce artistic work or creative work, things just end up becoming very, very generic, right? Whereas the way that I've kind of started reacting to that has been to start making content that just is the polar opposite of that. Like me going to a beach, having a cigar, hitting record and talking completely offhand. I'm thinking, what can I make that is the least AI thing around? And then look at ways to use AI maybe more, behind the scenes to save me time and save me money, etc. What's your overview of how AI has affected content and media over the last couple of years?
Well, the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
Anything. Look, it depends on the context. If you're not artistic, if you're frustrated and you've grown up or you sit next to someone that's so artistic and suddenly you have a tool that can help you write a song, your favorite genre of music, put your lyrics to it, that's incredible, right? Is that right? Is that wrong? Well, no, because wow, those are my lyrics and that's my song. And maybe that will even give me the confidence to start writing music with the help, because now it's helping me and I can start doing this. It's giving me confidence to do it on my own, and I will use the best of it in the most positive way. Why? And then you have, talking about music, I'm passionate about music as well, that very same AI tool, and there are a couple of them. And on the other side of it, you have Universal Music that wants to blow them up and get rid of them because of copyright and all those musicians and this, that, and the other, right? Same with acting, etc. But now, because some time has passed and frameworks and guidelines and a methodology has been put in place, now Universal is signing a deal with this company, right? So we all have opinions and we have noise about AI being negative and everyone's losing their jobs, but nobody finishes it. Nobody says, well, by 2030, there will be more than 130 million new jobs created, and yet we're losing 90. So we're actually going to gain more jobs, but people aren't talking about that. So the same sensationalist, crazy stuff. Google is ahead of ChatGPT right now because they have Nano Banana and Gemini 3, whatever. It's like, it's just a soap opera, people. Like, let's just put the soap opera over there, let them deal with it, and let's know that we're in this time of experimentation. We have a lot of people in a lot of incredible companies and a lot of very small or individual solopreneurs that are scared. Why? Because it's change. It's gray area. We can't listen to this whole negative stuff. All we can do is find out the positive. Like you've said, how can it help me? Like this person maybe that hasn't been creative and that can bring that side out. Because we're talking about being more productive. And if we're more productive when the machine helps us, then we can be more creative. Or it can help us to be more creative. I mean, like all of these things are positive things. But it's the balance and why, if we take the right mindset, then we can move through this wave of a complete revolution and experimentation. We are not in AI fixed. This is how it's going to be. I put a newsletter out every week. Every single week. It baffles me with so much news. It's not stopping. And it will continue to just keep changing. We're not there yet.
A lot of people who listen to this podcast are men, and they are typically working a professional white-collar job, or they might be entrepreneurs, business owners. For those who have a general understanding and overview of AI, but they're not really using it in any deeper sense than a bit of ChatGPT, what are some practical ways that they could start looking more into this and actually use it to add value to their life?
First of all, what does your life look like? What do you do in a day, right? Like, are we talking corporate? What are the values? What are the frameworks? Is anything in place? What about data privacy, etc. at your company, right? That is one thing. And hopefully you'll know about that, and you'll know that shadow AI, meaning using any AI and using your company data outside, that could be dodgy, right? So that we all need to go with there first. But then, if you in your personal use and you're in corporate or you're an entrepreneur, first of all, you have to look at what do you do that's repetitive, which areas in your life, your workflow, do you think that AI could come in and look at it? Do you produce content? Are you in personal branding? Let's talk about that. Everyone's got personal branding. We all need personal branding, right? Look at us. We're here right now because of personal branding. How do you manage that? Do you have a system? Like I just did an event last week with Notion, Notion has a free, sometimes you can't believe how much they give away that's free, but it's free. And you can use it a lot to organize your life. Start with time management. Find a tool like Notion. Build it slowly. Just do one thing at a time here, people. There are too many tools. Don't get tool hungry and gotta try it all at once. You'll drive yourself mad. That's like going into a shop and buying 10 magazines and gotta read them all and oh my God, like chill out. Just get Notion, for example. Time management, content calendar, personal branding. Who am I? What are my values? What do I represent? Who's my audience? What can I consistently do, my pillars, that people are going to resonate with? It might be that I need to change it, but you'll figure that out because of analytics, etc. But I have my content, this is what you teach, right? I have my content calendar and I know that I'm going to post 3 days a week because that's all I've got time for. But on my Notion, in my project management tool, Notion, I can see my calendar. I can see my ideas are going in there too. I've got ideas because I read. Where do I put my ideas when I read? Don't put them over there where you can't find them. Put them in the same place. Notion, all right? Put them there. Tidy and neat, all organized, one little place. Your brain, your second brain, right? And then from there, once you're used to doing whatever it is that you want to do with that, then you can maybe add another little tool like, I want to do video. Great. Well, then get Descript, for example, right? Editing videos has never been so damn easy, but people don't know this. So try that out for a month. But my point is, that's a long answer to your question.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Passion. Start with one thing at a time. Look at your workflow. Look at what you do in a day. Pick something. Try it out for a month. Monitor it. Don't just try it out and whatever. Really think about this here, people. What does it help me? Is it saving me time? And monitor it. And if it's not, well, what other tool maybe similar could I do the same thing with? Maybe do somebody else use the other tool and then whatever. So, but just there's this whole rush with innovation, everything's so fast, but that means that we have to go slow.
I've heard with Notion specifically that people that use it, it's like there was life before Notion and then life after Notion.
Yeah.
I've got to get on it. I think this is the sign. This is the final sign for me to start using Notion. I'll tell you an extreme example I remember of AI use for an employee. I dated this girl earlier this year, and she worked at a very well-known consulting company. I won't say which one. And she'd stay over sometimes and, be working on her laptop at home. And every time I looked over, the screen was always on ChatGPT. I'm like, do you just use ChatGPT all the time? She's like, yeah, I get a task, I put it in ChatGPT, and then I give it back all day. I'm like, wow, our new economy is companies paying millions of dollars to consultants who pay 23-year-olds $100,000 a year to put it in ChatGPT and send it back to them.
Yeah, it's probably better that I don't go there right now, but I work with a lot of very, very big companies, and there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just going to say that.
What's next for you at the moment? Are you feeling pretty settled in this current chapter, or is there something, a new project, a new reinvention on the horizon for you?
I love that because I'm Capricorn, and it's all about ambition and I mean that and who I am, these are all the other things, right? The typical, those labels, right? I'm hosting an event tonight, which is based around AI and female entrepreneurs. As the city lead, Barcelona for Women in AI Spain, I have lots of collaborations all for next year, which is basically we're going to be talking about responsible AI and what that looks like with C-level, asking a lot of questions to people in companies. We've always got to ask the questions, what's going on. I have a new, very big client, a consulting company.
Fantastic.
Really diplomatic, and I've worked with another consulting company, which is a very big one. So chances are, but the point is that there's it's a wonderful responsibility I have to do in-person workshops with partners of this firm and director level, etc. So there's going to be plenty to keep me going, because the world needs help with AI training, ethical AI training. So that yes, and there'll be the constant LinkedIn content being one of the top 20 LinkedIn AI influencers, which whatever, it's a label, right? But I just do my thing and keep people happy. But I do have goals. If that wasn't enough, because that wasn't enough for me. So that's just the short answer, and then I'll give you the long-winded part. I do want to break world records in swimming, and that means a lot of training, and it means a wonderful journey of how all that unfolds. And what I want from it is, other than what it gives me, which is complete satisfaction mentally and physically, I want to use it as a platform. I'm bringing it more into my leadership programs with AI, because athletics and sport and discipline is all combined, and that's who I am. And I have a big say in what I share. So there's going to be more of that in there. And then I want to, I was talking about people I was talking with yesterday. I want to do more collaborations, and there's more I need to do on a very big level. Like, I have 2 daughters that are now 18 and 19, and I've done a damn good job of bringing 2 extraordinary women into the world. And it wasn't just me, it was their dad, and it was their genes that just guided them. But I want to do it on a very big level. I don't know, I can't, the same way as I can't say what I'm going to break the world records in swimming, whether it be open water and whatever, in a pool, I don't know. But I know as well that I have to help people on a huge level how to know who the hell they are and bring out the best in them, those values I'm talking about, because we have one life. And so that is where I'm going. And that is why, next week I'm focusing completely on what that's going to look like. Because I want there's got to be a book, there has to be talks on it, there has to be, there has to be more of that. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that these kinds of conversations as well, they spark something in people, whether that's to travel, to pursue a new career, to set goals. We met just because I decided that I would go traveling for a while and get out of my comfort zone. And then we meet through a friend of a friend, and it's completely spontaneous. And I just think you're interesting, and we have lunch, and then I ask you to do a podcast. So I love the world is a mess, but it can be a good thing as well. It doesn't have to be a bad, confusing thing. To embrace those just unexpected surprises and opportunities that come along. I think that's something that I've learned a lot recently, and I hope that's something that people take from this conversation.
Yeah, no, I think we're talking the same language. I know we're talking the same language, right? It's about people. And, that's it, people, there's nothing else. That's all we've got,
Well, I hope it's not too long before I'm back in Barcelona and we can go for lunch to another incredible restaurant and keep chatting.
Yeah, thank you so much. Where are you?
Thank you. I'm in Marbella.
Oh, Marbella. Yes.
Yeah.
Not that bad.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So I'm here for 2 months. 2 more months. Yeah. And then we'll see. I have some plans, but I need to plan my life a little bit more, actually. That's kind of one of my tasks for tomorrow and the weekend, is just set more of a direction for not only the brand in 2026, but also my life and, what do I actually want to focus on? Where do I want to be? But travel is definitely going to be one of those continuing things.
And the thing is as well, is like, how old are you?
27.
27. So 27 years on this planet. Yeah, I mean, and age has nothing to do with it either, right? It is, I mean, because, you could know exactly and want to know exactly and feel better by knowing exactly what it is. But I would say as well that I just said it to a friend that I had breakfast with, because somebody said to me the other day, you gotta enjoy yourself. You really just enjoy yourself, have a good time. So I'm going to leave you with that as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Have a bloody good time.
Thank you. I'll try my best.
Yeah, you get on.
All right, Claire. Hope you have a lovely afternoon. Thank you so much for making time with us, and I'll definitely be sharing it with you over the next few weeks when we get it live.
Excellent. Nice to
All
see you.
right. Have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.